Jonas N on Facebook asked, hey, we are traveling at 4 people, 2 adults, 1 adolescent and 1 kid, around New Zealand in about a month. We will rent a camper van and plan in staying in holiday parks along the way. Do you have any tips on what to do in the evenings when staying in a holiday park?
That's a really cool question. I mean, that's the truth. A lot of people are planning their full days, so much to do, during the days. You're going to do a jet boat, you're going to go do this hike, you're going to check this out, you're going to check that out. And then after you're in your holiday park, locked into a 4 meters by 4 meters box.
Well, you're not exactly locked in there, but yeah.
But so you're just there and you're like, okay, well, usually you're pretty tired. So I think the first ththing you're doing is sleeping. First thing is rest, because you have another crazy day tomorrow, right? So take some a good night of rest. I mean, we're big believers on wake up really early in the morning and go to bed early at night. So like that, you get to do more in the morning and everything like that. So the first thing is have a good meal and sleep. But there is obviously plenty of other things to do. And actually, since we spend so much time on the road, we do have kind of a nice list. So we'll go through that now.
Yeah. So one of the things you can be doing, which is pretty much available in any holiday park in New Zealand, is having a barbecue. Barbecues are a very Kiwi thing, so you will always find barbecue facilities in any of the holiday parks or in most campsites in New Zealand. So yeah, just barbecuing some stuff on the barbecue is just a fun way to sort of do mealtime. You're outside, you're just the smell of the barbecue is always really nice. You can usually pick up some ingredients from local New Zealand ingredients. And
also, if you're from the northern hemisphere, I mean, doing barbecue in December or January, which is the kind of summer in New Zealand, is always kind of cool. You kind of do a Christmas barbecue and everything. It's very different. And we both come from Europe, so it was just kind of a very fun novelty at the beginning. I mean, now it's kind of like, of course we're doing a barbecue in December, but but at the beginning it was kind of a fun novelty.
Yeah, just to note though that although most barbecues are free to use in holiday parks in New Zealand, there's sometimes barbecues that are coin operated. So just keep that in mind, that sometimes you might need some spare change if you want to use the barbecues. All right.
So if there is no barbecues around and you don't feel like cooking, you don't feel like using the holiday park's kitchen, which is a great place to meet people, or you don't feel like cooking in your tiny camper van, you can definitely go out to restaurants. There are heaps is a lot. There is plenty and heaps and a lot of restaurants around New Zealand. Plenty of really good food to be had. We do have plenty of other videos on this channel about the cost of life in New Zealand, as well as the price for restaurants and all those kind of things. So feel free to check it out to know what you can expect. But I'd say for a family of 4, like we're talking about right here, 1 adolescent, 2 people and 1 kid, that should set you around, I'd say, if you're reasonable, about between $150 and $200 going to the restaurant, considering a bit of a shared entree, a shared platter at the beginning, and then after a main each, and then a bit of a dessert, and maybe a couple of drinks for the adult. That should be around that price range. And obviously, I'm talking in New Zealand dollars. Restaurants. But if you feel like saving money and you're traveling in holiday park, definitely use the kitchen in the holiday park. So another great thing to do in the evening is to actually cook. Use the kitchen of the holiday park. Meet some other people. The best place to meet people in the whole of New Zealand is the kitchen of your holiday park or the kitchen of your hostel. Honestly, you will meet so many people there. It's absolutely fantastic. You get to chat, you exchange a few ingredients and all of that. So it's kind of like, it's an overall like social experience to cook in the holiday park. So I think it's definitely one of the actual must do in the evening in New Zealand.
Yeah, well, one of the things that I remember going into a holiday park kitchen, and I started to make my food, but there was this huge group of people that were actually barbecuing and sort of doing a big meal for their group, and they were like, hey, we've got so much food, why don't you grab a plate and take some? I was like, okay. So there's always nice surprises like that. Yeah. And I actually brought a plate to you in the camper van as well.
Yeah, I thought that was tasting delicious. I was like, all right, it's unlike you. It's unlike you.
So another thing you can be doing, which it's kind of boring, really. It's okay, but it's watching a movie. So I'm sure you probably watch movies back at home, but if you're like...
I'm sure you know what movies are.
Yeah, they don't really need explaining, but it's always just a way to sort of, it is a good way of resting after if you've had a pretty tough day, but you're not ready to quite go to sleep yet, then you can always watch a movie. A lot of the big camper van companies have TVs in the big RVs, so you can watch movies on your own TV in your RV, and a lot of the time they even come with a few DVDs, but then
Juicy is famous for doing that. They give you a TV that has a DVD player in it, and then you get like 1 or 2 DVDs, and they say exchange with any other Juicy camper van. When you see a Juicy camper van, you're like, well, did you have a better movie? We always get the crap one. Let's be honest, we always get the worst movie.
And I think a lot of the TVs, they're quite modern, so they might have a USB stick. So if you do come to New Zealand with a USB with a few movies on, that's always
use your laptop and your iPad.
Yeah, well, it depends obviously on what you want to bring to New Zealand, but you can always bring a laptop or an iPad with movies on it. And some holiday parks actually have a DVD library or DVD rentals. So that's also an option.
So movie-wise, what we'd like to do, we like to actually, keep it thematic. There have been so many movies which have been shot in New Zealand, like seriously a ton. In fact, if you want to know, the 10 most popular one, we have an article on BackpackerGuide.NZ. If you just type like movies on the search bar on top, you'll be able to find a list of movies that's shot in New Zealand. So, we like to watch like The Lord of the Rings. Obviously, Narnia was shot in New Zealand as well, and plenty others. So it's kind of cool to kind of watch a movie that was shot around the area where we are. So that's kind of like one way we do it.
Yeah.
So another great thing to do when you're in a camper van, and one of our favorite things to do actually when we're in a camper van is playing board games. We play a lot of board games. So now we don't really play like those big monopolies and everything, but something a little bit more
travel size. Yeah.
Something a bit more travel size, and also a little bit more thinky. So there are a lot of really kind of small board games, and it's a great way to bring people together as well. So obviously a deck of cards, very easy. Everybody knows a bunch of games with that. Uno, everybody knows Uno. It's pretty simple. But then there are a bit more like obscure kind of games, but are still very, very easy to learn. So if you guys want to Google it, there is a game called Sushi Go, which is really fun and great, to teach to people. It takes a second to teach. And there is another game called Love Letters, which is very easy to teach people as well. And it's kind of like some fun-paced game, which actually just involves everyone. Actually, we should do a list. We should do a list of like our favorite
best travel board games.
Yeah, we'll do that. You know what? We'll do a list for you guys one day with like all the board games that we think is the best thing to travel around.
Yeah.
So playing board games great to meet new people, because there's some people are going to be a bit intrigued about this and that. Yeah. And also great to kind of just pass time together and have some good family time.
And it's more interactive than just, for instance, watching a movie and zoning out. So I definitely prefer to play board games.
But New Zealand is all about the outdoors, so
So another thing you can be doing on an evening is going for an evening walk. A lot of holiday parks have walks like really nearby or even leading from the holiday park, because you can find holiday parks in some really amazing areas around New Zealand. So just check out what's around the holiday park basically, and you'll often find actual walking trails. In fact, the very first holiday park Robin and I stayed in when we did New Zealand's biggest gap year, where we did 365 days, 365 activities. And basically the first activity we did was do a hike straight from our holiday park, because there was an actual like hiking trail from there. So always going for an evening walk is just a good time to spend the evening.
Exactly. So another great thing to do while you are out on an evening walk is to do stargazing. You will find that the stars in New Zealand are looking very different than the northern hemisphere. So the night sky is very different. Also, New Zealand has kind of a low population, so the light pollution in most parts in New Zealand are quite low. So you get some absolutely stunning night skies. So if you do have a cloudless night, it is fantastic. And there are some great apps that you can get on your phone, like just type stargazing in your App Store or Google Play Store or anything like that. Just type stargazing, and you'll find some fantastic apps that will literally tell you what you're looking at. There's even some you can actually point the camera at.
At the constellations.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
So stargazing, really awesome to do in New Zealand.
Yeah. Another thing we have on the list, which we've already briefly mentioned, is sleep. So obviously you need some rest, and yeah, sleeping is definitely one thing to do in the holiday park, because that's pretty much your main purpose of going to a holiday park, is going for somewhere to sleep the night. So we'll just quickly brush over that one. So sleep obviously on the list. But another thing you can do is read a book. So a lot of people like to read. It's quite a relaxing thing to do, nice quiet time. You'll find that a lot of holiday parks do have a book exchange, so you can pick up various books as you're traveling around New Zealand. Or, usually people have their own preference for what they want to read on, like e-readers and stuff like that, or on their phones. So there's plenty of options there. If you're a reader, you know how you like to read your books, so I don't really need to go.
Read something thematic, something about traveling or something about New Zealand.
Lord of the Rings.
So another great thing to do, especially for kids, is to write a travel journal. Just making, maybe you can get the kids to say, tell them you have to write kind of 1 page every day, and they kind of write what they did and everything like that. It's really cool to be able to kind of read back what you've done. So I don't know, it's just kind of a great way to kind of keep everything you want to remember, because every single time you say, I'll never forget that, you may at some point. So it's kind of really cool to do a travel journal. It passes the time very well, but also I think it's a really cool activities and something you can get back to later. So I think it's really fun.
Yeah. Another thing you can be doing is planning the next day. So sort of plan your route, where you're going to be going, what activities you're going to be doing, maybe where you're going to stop to eat. So it's just always really cool to especially if you're on a family trip, sort of get excited for the next day. And it's also makes things a little bit less stressful if you actually have more of a plan of where you're going, and you're not just sort of running around like a headless chicken. So that's always a good way to spend I don't know, maybe about half an hour or something on an evening. Not something that you have to invest a lot of time in, but it's always worth doing.
And lastly, the last thing that I will do in a holiday park, and we kind of touched up on it a little bit throughout everything we've said, but it's using the facilities of the holiday park you are staying in to their full extent. Some of them have massive bouncing pillows, some of them have mini golf, some of them have DVD exchanges, some of them have plenty of booths, some of them are like game rooms, so you can play table tennis. There is really a lot of it. There's baskets, some of them have basketball courts, some of them have car that you can pedal and go around, and some of them organize tours, and some of them do this and do that. There is really a lot to do in holiday park, and every holiday park is different. Some of them have massive swimming pools with diving caves and swim to bars. I mean, there are some absolutely epic holiday parks.
Some might have hot pools as well, so you can go relax in a hot pool.
So there is really crazy amount of stuff in holiday parks around New Zealand. They're all very different. So use the facilities of the holiday park to their full extent. Holiday park owners and operators know that most of the time you spend time in a holiday park in the evening, so almost all of those facilities are open in the evening. It's very rare to have a holiday park that says, yes, we have a pool, but it closes at 4 p.m. That would be ridiculous. That would be counterproductive, and it's not the case. So there is really a ton to do in a holiday park, so use their facilities. All right, so that's 10 or more, I don't know how many, but that's plenty of things that you can be doing in an evening in a holiday park when traveling in New Zealand. If you guys find that useful, click like. It's a great way to reward us for all our hard work. And obviously hit subscribe if you want to know more about New Zealand. And plenty more information on BackpackerGuide.NZ.